In this video, we're going to go over the software setup and doing some vinyl cutting with our GRC-61 vinyl cutter. Once again, if you're not sure you have a GRC-61, you can look underneath the machine. You see GRC-61. We're using a GCC brand serial to USB converter U232-P25. We have our machine in the on position, and it is booted up and online. Previously we loaded vinyl into it, and we're ready to work on the software side. On the desktop right now I have my kind of vinyl cutter setup folder. In here we first have the Win2K_XP_USB_driver. This is the driver for that GCC serial to USB converter. We have daemon tools, which allows us to simulate a CD-ROM drive with the signed Blazor elements. This is our vinyl cutting software. We have our links. We have a links manual. Links is another vinyl cutter. This one's provided by Vinyl Express, but the Vinyl Express GRC-61 is arguably the same machine. I've never seen one, never worked with one. But in here you'll find a lot of good information about setting up and running the machine. The buttons are different for controlling it though. Signed Blazor elements, we have an update and a patch for signed Blazor elements. Here's the zip file for our USB driver, and then we have our runtime for Windows XP. This computer is running Windows 7 Professional. This one's a little bit higher end of a T430 Lenovo, but you can do this with a basic, really basic machine. Within Windows 7 or Windows 10, whatever you want to use, we are running a virtual machine of Windows XP. So this is XP Professional version 2002 Service Pack 3. I'll have to edit out my serial number. But once you boot this up, you want to make sure on here, on this top bar, make sure you can see that. USB, click on the USB, and then you'll have to attach the USB RS-232 interface controller. This allows XP to access that USB port, and which has the serial controller on it. Okay. We'll actually be using signed Blazor elements for US Cutter to kind of boot this machine up. Once we start the software up, it may or may not ask to update. Just ignore that. But we have kind of our work area along with a lot of our tools for kind of making and cutting vinyl. So on here, we're just gonna open a new file or create a new file. And we're using 22-inch wide vinyl, length is 34, it's a roll, doesn't matter. And then we're ready to create our vinyl. Really basic tools we can use to make things like squares, circles. You can add text, things like that. Down here we have our colors. These allow you to kind of visualize what you're doing in the software. So you can just hit escape. With the select tool, you can select your shapes, hold shift to select multiple shapes. You can kind of change the color. This is good for doing layouts, things like that. But also when you go to actually make your cuts, you can select what color vinyl you have in there and kind of match it to this, and it's just a useful way of categorizing what you're doing. We're going to go a little bit more advanced today and use a program called Vector Magic, which is a image vectorizer that I like to use. So if you just find something on the internet, just a basic kind of ritualistic symbol like the Illuminati symbol, you can see this is a JPEG, so it's going to have some artifacts and stuff like that. This one has shadows, but you can only import vectors into the US Cutter software. So with the software, we're just going to drag and drop the Illuminati file onto there. It's giving us a warning that this file is huge. I don't know, maybe it's a desktop background or something like that. So it's going to recommend to downsize it. Just use basic mode. It's going to work on the image. A couple options: photograph, artwork with blended edges. This is called anti-aliasing. So you can see this, instead of being just black and white, it has some gray in there. So this is an alias image. Come on. There we go. So we'll use that button, and then this is pretty sharp. So it just has some compression artifacts or other noise. If it doesn't work, we'll use medium. We only have 2 colors here. It's gonna process this. So we can see it did kind of screw up the shadows. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just drop it down to medium quality on the right. And that fixed most of the shadow issues. We still got kind of a cut here. We can see the actual path. So that should just be a sharp corner. We have kind of curved corners up here. So we do have issues with the shadows, so we'll go back. This artwork with blended edges, and then low quality, image is blurry, 2 colors. So you can kind of play with these settings to kind of get where you need to be. So it's still doing the same thing. So we'll go back to medium quality, and we'll use some of the editing tools. So we're going to edit results with this button on the right, kind of zoom into the corner. What this allows you to do with kind of the zap, fill, pencil, and color tool is we can actually pixel by pixel edit some of these corners to make them sharper, and then have it rescan them. So we're just going to hit color, select the white, pencil, and we're just going to kind of eyeball this. So previously there was kind of like a shadow or some compression there, some compression artifacts. So we'll just kind of edit those out because that corner wasn't sharp. This corner has a weird curve, so we'll just kind of try and fix it. Obviously I'm not going for the highest resolution. Illuminati symbol, but whatever. So use that fill tool, that's sharp enough. And we see some weird things. So we can press B for bitmap over here. You see how these curve, and it's actually sharp. That's the shadow in the background. So this may be maybe not the best picture to use, but we will just do our best to copy that bitmap. Fill, fill, fill. So we can hold the B key to do this, and I'm just holding the mouse and clicking and just gonna follow this, and that'll give us a pretty straight thing. Pencil tool, we got it on white. Just gonna cut that. We already did that top one. And I'm just scrolling, and based on where you point, when you scroll down, it's going to zoom out away from that, and where you point. So if I point over here and zoom in, it's going to try and center that. So I'm just scrolling in and out to make that work. Hold the B key. Do these. Once again, just holding the mouse. Using our spatial memory. Oh, this one's way off. Try to make that a little bit smoother. Corner looks good. Okay. And we'll just go back and use the fill tool. And clean up any extra pixels. Okay. You can use fill or pencil. You can color this whole thing in if you want. So you've got lots of time to play with. Okay, so that's pretty well cleaned up. Now we'll just hit update in the lower right, and I'll kind of readjust all the results. Yeah, I want to fix that. Just, OCD, so we'll go back to edit results. I missed one of these pixels. I see a couple points in here. Oop. Accidentally clicked the wrong thing. Undo. Pencil. Update. So this is Vector Magic 1.14 from vectormagic.com. We still have issues over here. Pencil tool. We want to be careful of really small, close together cuts, because that's just challenging for the vinyl cutter to cut. I'm way off. Color black, pencil. Okay, it's gonna hit update. Okay, so as a current color palette, 2 colors. It's only, we told it 2 colors in the beginning, but you can change that to have more. Next thing I'm gonna do is hit the remove background button. We can see this background's white, and this has the typical Photoshop checkerboard behind it. So you pretty much just click wherever you see the white background. Otherwise, when you import this, the whole thing will be black because it wants to cut it all in once. So do that, hit next, you can hit next, done reviewing, and what we're going to do is we're going to save it as an Adobe Illustrator file, so .ai. There's options for TXF, EMF, EPS, PDF, and SVG. The AI seems to be the only one that works, so we'll just save it to the desktop. So just open up my computer, C drive, final transfer, throw our AI file in there. File import, go to our vinyl transfer, select the AI file. We'll want to use the PostScript scanner. If we use the other one, well, it'll just fail. So we have some interesting kind of corners here. The vinyl cutter could probably get in there, but that's pretty tight, and I think we have little, this is the same kind of scroll in and out. It gets real fine there, so we might have some issues. We could fix that. We'll just use the circle. It's already black, and we'll just kind of clean this up somewhere. These are a lot of just dirty tricks just to get this cut real quick. So if you have a customer you don't like and you don't really care about their quality, or you're just cutting some stupid live, love, laugh stuff, you can use some of these tricks. Okay, so it just kind of cleans up the corners a little bit. Because this blade is only a certain width, you can see this isn't even like a real circle, but whatever. Okay, once we're in here, we can use all of our tools. We can add text. If we use the select tool, highlight the whole thing, right click, and go to size, we can see the size on it. I'm not gonna use this much vinyl. Maybe horizontal, we want 3 inches. So that'll give us a 2.6 inch vertical. Now we go to cutter, and you can have this anywhere on the workspace and it'll automatically put it in the lower left. If you do have multiple colors of vinyl, they'll show up here. So if we also wanted to do a red circle that day, you can go to cutter, and then you can select, there's our Illuminati symbol, which is just showing as black with no name. There's a blazer black. These are all our circle corrections, so we want to fix that. And there's our red circle. So we want to fix that blazer black. So we'll hit finish, and then select the Illuminati symbol, and that also select the correct little edits we made. Change it all to blazer black. Okay, now it's all one cut. On here we can select some things like how to rotate it on the vinyl. It doesn't really matter. And if you want to do multiple copies, it can automatically space mount. You do want to have either weed each copy on, and you can see, if not, it'll just kind of stack them. This will put a square cut around it so you can easily separate them. You can also do weed all, which will put a bounding box around the whole thing. In terms of cutter settings, we can go to setup here. We can see in the list of cutters, I have Vinyl Express GRC-61. It happens to be on COM port 3, which is the GCC USB serial converter. Make sure you have your USB enabled for the virtual machine. If you're not sure, I think you can go to Start, right click on My Computer, go to Properties. We're looking for the Device Manager. Go under Hardware, Device Manager, and then on here we can go to Ports, Common LPT ports, and it'll show us, I guess we have 4 COM ports. These are all virtual. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 COM ports, 1 LPT printer port. Our USB serial converters on COM 3, which of course it's already set up. It's set for direct. The COM settings 9600, 8, none, stop bits 1, flow control, hardware. Vinyl size, you can put the width of your roll here. That'll just help you kind of set up if you want to do multiple copies. And then you can put gap between each page. Is 0.2, x-axis override. Settings are 11.81 and 25%. I don't know what those are. Blade offset 0. The machine will handle that on the hardware side. Cut holes first is checked. Sort before cutting, limit to workspace, and trim tiles are all set. Cutting size correction 3.94, 3.94, 3.94, 3.94. I don't know what that is. Cut direction clockwise, cutter movement, best tracking. That's kind of what we have. And then I like to hit save and give this a name. This one's in the living room. Just where it is. Hit OK. That way, if something goes wrong, you can hit load and just hit living room, and you know those are your last best settings. So once we're on here, we obviously don't want 5 copies of that. We'll just do 1. You can hit this cut button. It'll open up the cut tile, so you can tell it which. So if you do have multiple copies, you can tell it which one to do, and it'll pause between each one. And you can tell it to cut tile, skip tile, cancel, and you can also move these to the home and maximum position. On our machine, we want to make sure it's in online mode. So we have online mode. If not, you can just hit this online offline. We have our cutting arm down, our rollers are engaged, the width is set. We're in a spot where to the left. We're in a spot where to the left we have free, nice vinyl. On here, we're going to hit cut tile. And it'll say sending output to cutter. It doesn't really mean anything, it's just a fake progress bar. But what we should be seeing is our vinyl cutter going ham over here, cutting roughly what we would need. The only thing to watch for small jobs like this, this one's only 3 inches across. You're not going to get much bunching or anything. But when you're cutting things like graphics for your race car that are 4 or 5 feet long, you want to watch for kind of bunching, so you can see if the material starts to go like that, or it starts tracking sideways, it'll slowly go to diagonal. Once it's done, you'll kind of see it move back to the home position. It's back in online, so you could actually send it another job, but it would just cut right over that. So if you're going to the next job, you just want to turn it offline and allow it to move. And if you look real closely, we'll put a mark. So to advance the feed, I'm just pressing the down button. Since the camera won't pick this up, we'll just put a mark. That's the edge of our vinyl. If you were going to cut another one, you just kind of bring it back. This way you can see what I'm doing. Move it over, to your next available kind of area of vinyl you want to leave. Get about 1/4 inch, and then hit the enter key, and this will put it back online